So now, how many hours of sleep is sufficient? This answer really depends on a lot of factors. A study by the University of Warwick observed that the risk of mortality amongst those who had less than 6 hours of sleep had increased by 12%. But then also, those who slept more than 9 hours had as much as 30%, which is quite ironic. You would think that if you have more sleep, you should have less likely chance of risking of your mortality. But ironically, that is not the case. But to be clear, the hours of sleep that's sufficient for someone really depends on a lot of factors. As sleeping 10 hours might be beneficial for those who need the increased sleep. For instance, a recovering athlete or a powerlifter. Basically, individuals that have extremely high physical activity or are injured, or people that have chronic stress, and especially children, they need to be able to have long hours of sleep for their body to grow. So to answer this more effectively, we need to actually understand sleep stages and sleep cycles. What are these sleep stages and sleep cycles? The secret to a better sleep is only understood through the understanding of sleep stages and cycles. There are two phases which sleep alternates: the orthodox sleep and REM sleep. The majority of sleep is usually orthodox, which goes through cycles of deep sleep, quiet sleep, slow wave sleep, and then can be divided into these three NREM, they call it, which is known as non-rapid eye movement stages, that are N1, N2, and 3. These are in contrast to REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement sleep. So N1 is the first stage, and the EEG, which is an electroencephalography, I think that's how you pronounce it, I completely butchered it, is some device that shows irregular oscillations in your brainwaves. So theta waves are slower and higher in frequency than alpha waves. It's a transitory phase from wakefulness to light sleep. You may find yourself in this first stage changing positions frequently and in some sort of deep meditative state. However, if someone wakes you up, you might not feel like you've had fallen asleep. Usually this phase lasts around 10 minutes. So N2 is now the second stage, where a period of light sleep. During this, there is little movement and breathing is actually very quiet. The brain activity in the second stage is actually more active than in the first stage. And this is because this is the process where even dreaming becomes possible. So getting enough stage 2 sleep can help improve your motor skills. However, you can be easily woken up during this stage, and this stage usually lasts around 20 to 30 minutes. Then there's N3, which is the third stage, which is a deep period of sleep. And breathing becomes normalized and very quiet and more controlled. And the EEG shows something such as slow delta waves. Muscles are completely relaxed and the pulse and the body temperature and even blood pressure is completely decreased. Production of the human growth hormone begins and regenerative parts of the body are activated. In this, you will not wake up if another person just walks into your room. And the duration of this is usually around 30 to 40 minutes. However, for elder people, they experience a very short duration, which is only about 6 minutes, which is 5 to 7 times less than an average person. Hence, as you age, your N3 sleep also reduces, and this is a key to remember. And that actually makes sense why elder people are very sensitive, or if there's a small noise or if someone walks in whilst they're sleeping, they'll get disrupted. Then there is REM, which you may have heard of before, where your brain is actually awake, but the rest of the body is asleep. The muscles in the neck and body are paralyzed, which prevents sleepwalking from occurring. And during REM, the eyes are moving under the eyelids. And this is when the dreaming phase is at its peak. Typical adults have an average of 4 to 5 REM stages every night. The first stage lasts, as discussed, about 10 minutes, and then the subsequent stages are 30 minutes. REM sleep is very important as it allows for regeneration of the brain's nerve cells. Also, sleep deprivation has shown that REM sleep is indispensable, as deprivation will ultimately lead to irritability, fatigue, memory loss, and just reduced capacity for concentration, especially something known as deep work if you read the book. So in summary, a typical adult of 7 to 8 hours of sleep is usually recommended. The sleepover moves from first stage to second, third, and then back to the second stage. And after this, the sleeper will either wake up to drink water or something or go straight to REM sleep, following another 4 to 5 cycles of this same thing again. Usually one full cycle lasts around 90 minutes. It is important to maximize the amount of deep sleep, hence N3, going through at least 3 cycles, and getting enough sleep allows one to reorganize their memory and improve their learning capacity. So if you're actually trying to learn something new and absorb and all these things, then you ultimately also want to be able to focus on having maximum amount of good quality sleep, because that is going to fast forward your ability to be able to learn and absorb and be able to just push forward through whatever you're trying to apply. So this was part 2 of the ultimate guide of sleep, where we looked at what are the stages and cycles of sleep, and also how many hours is usually recommended and sufficient. And you will know this dependent on your own body. So sometimes it takes a bit of just observation. If you wake up and you feel tired, even though you had good sleep, that might say a lot about your habits or probably the night before, something you didn't do right. Maybe you're looking on the phone for too long late at night with low lighting or something. Maybe the quality of sleep wasn't actually as good as it should be. There's too much noise. There's a lot of other factors that I'm going to go over in the next few videos to emphasize on what you can do to improve your quality of sleep. But if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe and stay tuned for the next part.